Welcome to Billion Dollar Marketing Secrets Over Coffee with Biz Coach Steve Feld. Biz Coach Steve interviews fellow successful business owners about the strategies they have used to grow their businesses, and in turn, you can use them to help you navigate your business towards success. Ready to learn strategies to grow your business with less stress and build a long-term sustainable business to exceed your personal and business financial goals to build the business of your dreams? Well, you have come to the right place. Please welcome Biz Coach Steve Feld.
Hello, fellow business owners, and welcome to another episode of Experts Over Coffee. I'm Biz Coach Steve Feld, and my goal is to stop business owners from suffering entrepreneurial depression and start making running their businesses easier, having more fun, and highly profitable so they can break seven figures and beyond. Today, we have another great guest for you today. We have Tab Pierce. Now, Tab, he helps entrepreneurs and business owners see that there is a path to success and that the pathway is glorious and worth the adventure. Tab is the founder and president of Caliber Security Partners, which provides cybersecurity services to enterprise clients and emerging technology companies, with his wife, Catherine. And they're also the owners of Networked Live, a community of business owners and entrepreneurs that helps them manage and experience the cycle of prosperity. It's a great networking group and calendar. We might touch on that today, but please welcome Tab. How are you doing today?
Doing great, thank you.
So first, Tab, cybersecurity. So tell us, what got you into that industry?
Well, I guess probably not as exciting as, I woke up one day and I'd been hacked and I was like, I'm going to make the world a better place. And I set off, it was honestly, like a lot of people, I fell into my industry and it was back in 1998, security was not even an industry yet, and I was a sales guy, and I was selling hardware, so I was selling firewalls and VPNs, and I got really good at those two things in particular, and that kind of drove me into the security field. Ironically, I haven't sold equipment or hardware probably since 2000. So, it was a pathway, but that's how I came into it.
It's funny. That's about the same time I had my first company, writing business marketing, operational plans, and coaching startups for VC money.
Oh, that's
we
cool.
all know what happened to that industry.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
That bubble burst, and so did my business, and I know many others.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, I know cybersecurity has been a hot topic for many years now. It's going to get even hotter and hotter. It's like, what are the type of clients that you work with, and what kind of trends are you seeing in cybersecurity?
There's majority of our clients end up being enterprise level organizations. So if you think of companies that you use every day, there's a likelihood that we work with them or have worked with them. We also work a lot with technology companies that are emerging, just really getting going, that have a level of funding that are on a trajectory of growth, that security is important. And we work with other organizations too, because there's always those are the ones that we usually seek out. Then there's the ones that kind of find us. And so there is really any business that has a financial appetite for security. And I say it like that because it's not an inexpensive process. So, if people often, if you're a small business, you might think of things like, I'm thinking about, virus protection or malware or, things like that. And the trends that we see that specifically impact Caliber Security Partners are things like looking at a website and doing website security and looking at vulnerabilities and testing that against the OWASP top 10, which is a common standard practice, or standard. And looking at mobile applications, so mobile apps, web apps, networks, and really heavily involved in the testing at that level. Now, as far as the trends that we see, there continues to be a lot of growth in the area of how people manage things like ransomware, and which is something that pretty much any business should be concerned with. And then other areas that compliance is a huge driver, right? I mean, it's just making sure that people meet various different standards. So ransomware is kind of a scary thing, and compliance is a boring, needful thing. So, but those are still continue to be two hot topics.
That's true. What would you say
especially,
to business owners?
Especially for the small businesses. So if you have, if that's your target, those are the two things I would say. Sorry. Anyway.
Oh, it's okay. Yeah, I know the ransomware has been a hot topic, especially for small business owners, because they don't have the capacity, the means, the financial resources a lot of times to really take care of that.
Yeah, and there's not to oversimplify it, but one of the easiest, least expensive ways for people to avoid ransomware is to do backups.
Yeah.
And then because the big thing is, if somebody gets a hold of your passwords and your data and that, and they hold you ransom, and you're like, well, I don't have I don't have a backup, so I either have to start over, I have to pay them, or I'm in trouble. If you do a backup, especially if you're a small business, if you back up well, you're like, man, that sucks, and I got to have somebody go and restore it, so you get all your data back because you have it, and then you're off to the races and with improved passwords and things like that. But that's the best way for those organizations to get it or to cover it. And as a side note, I don't follow it that well, but there'd been a lot of talk for a long time where the federal government was looking at making it illegal to pay for ransomware, which you can imagine what a hard place in a rock that would put people in. If like, okay, I got to get my data back if I want to succeed and thrive, but I'm going to break the law doing it. So back up early.
That's it. Yep. It's funny you mentioned that. One of the businesses I was running, we had every night we backed up. And it was part of security's duties. Mm-hmm. And we got hit with the whole ransomware. And we were talking to our IT guy, and he's laughing. He's like, don't do anything. We're like, what do you mean? He goes, I have all the internal stuff on totally different servers. He goes, what they got was just that day stuff that you get on the website and those kind of things. He goes, so what? You lost some emails today. Yeah. Boo-hoo.
Yeah. I mean,
no data was touched.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like it's like a no harm, no foul.
Right.
But it sure as heck beats like, oh yeah. So where are we at? We're dead in the water. So
yeah, as a normal,
it's more like you got to scratch. Yeah. And even if they do get that other stuff and you have good backup in that, you have a pathway to move forward.
Yeah, we just decided on that for that company when we redid everything to invest in that technology at the time.
Yeah.
Why not? We got approved from the board to spend money, so we did it. But for a lot of businesses, it's kind of tough, and that's where they need someone like you to come in and kind of make sure that they have that armor on, if you will.
Yeah. I mean, it's there's just always some best practices, just like any industry and any business that you follow, and it's the interesting thing is, as a security company, having to go back to a bunch of people that are really busy doing, working for their, for clients and going, hey, is anybody minding the store kind of thing. So, we've got our own best practices in place to kind of, minimize us being a target ourselves.
And what would you tell like a business owner, a leader, when they're looking at their cybersecurity and their protection for their business? Because nowadays you're doing everything online. How often should they have everything updated or reviewed?
Well, like on the backup stuff, that stuff's automated, so that could be backed up daily and easily. That's something they should do. On the desktops, I would do something like Malwarebytes over virus protection, just because it's like 25. I don't know exactly. It's like $25 a year per laptop or something, and that does a great job of just checking those type of things. And then just making sure that you have really good password policies in place, and that that you follow them. If you've got employees, it's really good to do things like phishing exercises, just to make sure that people understand what not to fall for, and as they get bigger, they can start doing other things. But most of it is just some real basic blocking and tackling type of things. It's like I'm not saying that they don't need to do what we to come to us and say, well, can you test our website? But if you're running like Wix or Squarespace or something, it's like, man, you don't need us to do that. But it's where people get into developing applications, and it's really dynamic, and it is like the lifeblood of their company. Like then that's when our client come to us. So like really, like the technology is the heartbeat of the organization.
Gotcha. What would you say to like the business owner and leaders, like when you're looking at the future of cyber attacking, because it is increasing. That's what we're all reading. We're hearing it all the time. It's how would you talk to a business owner or leader saying how to prevent that or put a plan in place? I know you talked about the backup and everything else, but from their point of view, it's like, okay, do they do an ongoing expense with it, or because it's technically an investment in protection?
Yeah, the first thing I would say is there's no guarantee, right? So a small business could be choose a dollar amount, right? $500,000 a year is their revenue, and they're like all in, and they're spending a big chunk on cybersecurity. There's still no guarantee that somebody's not going to want you, but that's one of the things that I hear from small businesses is, why would anybody be interested in me? I mean, I'm a small business, and the answer is a little more complicated than just what they might understand. One is that there's bots that are out there that are that's all these bots do is search for common vulnerabilities. So if you have if you have a WordPress website, WordPress is always getting hacked. Mm-hmm. And if you have, the likelihood of you having a WordPress website and a bot not attacking you is minimal. And even you got to just make sure that you have really good processes in place that do automatic backup of all of those add-ons and everything else that so it's, or not backup but security updates and that, because there's such a big likelihood and a big chance of that happening. But the things that I would really tell them to do is just focus on best practices, and just kind of realize that you are a target either from a bot or from somebody with an enormous amount of free time. There's obviously the monetary gain that a hacker gets for hacking a site, potentially a monetary gain, but the hacker community is still heavily driven by street cred. I was able to hack this whatever, and check this out, look what I did. I defaced the site or whatever. And, and then the last thing is, if you're a small business and you have technology that we developed, somebody out there wants that.
Right.
Somebody out there wants what you have. If it's serious if you don't protect it, because it doesn't take much for them to get it. So you just have, it's best just to really have a solid interest and due diligence towards your business, because if it was as simple as locking your door at night and just going to bed and being done with it, that would be one thing, but it's so much more deeper and difficult than that.
No, it's so true. With your business, what is one kind of challenge or problem, I always say, or failure even, that you had to overcome to get you where you are today?
One?
Let's stick it to one.
Just one. So I'll tell you the biggest one. And it changed my life. And you brought up Network Live and how we ended up where we're at. The one failure that I had, like, changed my entire life and the trajectory of what we did, and led us here to what we're doing, even with Network Live. And that was, I'm a sales guy by trade, right? That's my background, right? And so, I started Caliber. We did fantastic, and all of a sudden we had a series of things that just didn't click. And one of them was, we had a very large client that we had 8 employees on contract, and the contract ended, and they said, just hold tight, we're going to extend. And that turned into 8 weeks of, it's going to come, it's coming. And so, 8 times 8, 64, right? 64 man weeks of people sitting on the bench, and increasingly concerned because we don't have the funds to cover that. And we started to hemorrhage. And then right about the time when we were going to make a decision that we got to let these people go, our contact inside that group got transferred, and it just went away. But in the time that happened, we took out a bad loan, right, to cover this. We stopped paying the IRS because, hey, you know what, we're going to get this stuff and we can make it up. And then these 3 things, all of those things, like, quickly drove us from, what I thought was a profitable company to $750,000 in debt. And that changed my life in a lot of different ways. Writing about it, which led me to start another business, which led me to this, all this stuff. At the time, I'll just say this. At the time, I just remember thinking, this is the worst day of my life. When I found out what was going on, I was like, worst day of my life. And what I didn't realize was that was actually the best. Well, and I'll put an asterisk here, because I got married, I've had kids, I've had grandkids, and those are the best days of my life, right?
Right.
But if you take the real best days out of my life, the best day of my life was finding out that was $750,000 in debt, because I went from being a business owner that thought we could outrun problems by driving more revenue, to being a good leader, being a good business owner, starting other businesses, having discussions with people I'd never had with before, helping people, et cetera, et cetera. So, but that was the biggest business challenge, was having that big of a blind spot, not realizing that revenue wasn't the answer to everything. It sure makes sense. Still to this day, I'm like, we get enough revenue, we can outrun everything. No, we can't. But it's tough to teach an old dog new tricks. But that was the big thing, is just, becoming a really good leader, and maturing into that. And I still got a long way to go, right? But that was the big thing.
Wow. That's so true, isn't it? That many business owners go through that, and it changes so many things into the positive for something so negative at the moment.
Yeah. And I'll say this, most of the people, because the first thing you do when you go through anything sort of traumatic, right? And probably in life, but specifically to business, you turn to peers and experts and mentors and that, and all of them said, you should close your doors, file bankruptcy and start over, go get a job, do whatever. And what I found out, and even at the time, our accountant went to talk to our accountant. He's no longer our accountant. Said, you need to close your doors and go figure out how you're going to pay the IRS, because there is zero chance that you can recover from this. And he goes into this whole reason. And I left mad, and I looked at the other person that was there, that was now the president of the company, and just said, we need a new CPA, we need a new accountant, new CPA, because if that's what they believe, then they're not prepared to help us do what we need to do. And the only reason and people would say, oh man, it's so great that you hung in there, you didn't file bankruptcy, and you did the noble right thing. And I'm really quick to tell people, hey, I don't want any pretense. I mean, if I would have owed money, if I didn't owe $250,000 to the IRS, I would have been like, see ya. But the best way for me to pay off $250,000 was the company. But what happened along the way is I realized that I could actually pay everybody off and recover the business. We're so much stronger than we were. But anyway, it's just a really interesting thing when you got to be careful of people that you label as an expert, or that we label as an expert or a guru or a mentor or whatever, that they're actually deserving of that.
Right. Yeah, I've been through some, after owning and operating 7 businesses and turning around 3 others. It's like, I've heard that same story before from people.
Oh yeah,
experts.
Yeah, I mean, I wish I was the only one on the planet that's ever had that experience.
Yeah.
But I'm not.
Not the first, and you won't be the last, I hate to say. Well, great. No. I know we're almost out of time. What is one thing you'd like to leave with? Parting words, share your advice or tips, whatever you like.
The thing I would say, because we talked about that recovery that my business had. I used to do so many more podcasts than I do these days, and it was that that recovery was just so fresh, and it's not as fresh anymore. But since we talked about it, because I don't talk about it a lot these days, but I would tell people that to be open about it, right? First of all, to be open about it, but there is so much. What you want to do is you want the pain to end. You want things to be right, but there's so much to be gained from the journey.
Oh yeah.
That you just don't want to give up, because you come out the other. I came out the other side, and I went, wow, I didn't even know this person, this guy that I am now, was even in there. That was even a possibility. I had no idea. And so that's the win. I mean, all this other stuff is cool. I made a lot more money than I ever lost and all that stuff. But just knowing that you can become something that's pretty formidable if you just are willing to do the hard thing. And we live in a world that wants quick action, quick solutions, 15-minute abs or whatever it is, right? That's what we live in. And, in all the training that I do, I tell people, I'm like, hey, we have a network live, we have something called Mastery Alliance. And, we have 90-day training. And like somebody was like, 90 days is too long. They're like, you need a 7-day jump start. I'm like, I can do a 7-day jump start, but it's a jump start. It's
Right.
not, I mean, we're talking about mastering ourselves, which is really what we're talking about in everything in life. And what you're talking about is how do you master yourself? It's not 7 days. I mean, I'm 58. I'm not sure it's 70 years. And, I'm still in the midst of it. And so we just have to realize that it takes what it takes.
Yeah.
And for us to get wherever it is we're going, and that has to be okay.
Yeah, there's no shortcuts like that. That's for sure. If you want to be a master at it or get to that point.
Yeah, exactly. It takes time, and I have people all the time like, how long? And I'm like, you want me to give you a number? Like 33 and a half months. I don't know, man. It takes what it takes.
Right. Everyone's different.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, how much time do you give to it? How thick-headed are you? How quick of a learner? What's your environment? How much, all of this stuff. And so it's like, there's no, all of it. So you're right. Everyone's individual.
Well, great. Tab, thanks a lot for being our guest, and thanks for selecting our show to be on. Since you put
Thank
down
you.
on
I appreciate it. This was awesome. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you. Well, Tab and everyone, we have proprietary software where we can find any business, 50,000 to even over 100,000 of hidden revenue in 45 minutes, and develop a customized roadmap on how to get that revenue. It's amazing with all the 497 million algorithms it uses. And we're looking for some new case studies to put in our next book. So let us know to see how much hidden revenue we can find for your business. And if you like Tab and other experts on this show, please make sure you give a positive review, subscribe to the channel, and like this episode. I'm Biz Coach Steve Feld, wishing you and your business much success.
We hope you liked today's guest on $1 billion Marketing Secrets Over Coffee. If you'd like to see how much hidden revenue we can uncover for you, well, click on the link in the show notes to speak with Steve. Mention the podcast when you book the meeting. You will receive a special gift. Make sure to like this episode and subscribe to this podcast to hear other great proven business leaders share their strategies to help you grow your business.